Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my preferred best settings in Call of Duty Warzone. I've not only done my own experience, but I've also done research, so I'm going to be giving you guys the most popular settings to use, so that way you guys will be unstoppable and will annihilate, assimilate, and eviscerate any single enemy that you will come across in Warzone. So let's get started. Now keep in mind that I am playing on Xbox here. I wanted to let you know that even though I am playing on Xbox, these settings do carry over other than just your simple PC specific settings. There is PC specific settings, but that's because on the PC there's more optimal options because the thing can handle more. But the good news is though, is that these are basic settings that I'm going to be showing you that will apply to all of them. So whether you're playing on Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, this still does apply. So let's begin. So the very first thing is that my button layout is on tactical. This is the very first Call of Duty that I have ever actually used tactical, and here's why. Every single other Call of Duty, one of the main things used to be knifing. Everyone used to panic knife all the time, and even though drop shotting was the popular thing to do, I was always the knifer guy, because it was more optimal in Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, even up to Advanced Warfare there was still panic knifing. You could do a one-hit melee. And then in Black Ops 3 everything changed and they did a two-hit melee system. And even then I was still kind of used to the one-hit melee, and so I just kept default even though it was a two-hit melee now. But I finally converted over because since we're now back into the modern era again, there's no real reason to jump as much as it was like, let's say, the exocods or something. So I have tactical on here so that way if I need to in Warzone, or even a multiplayer, if you still want to play multiplayer, but mostly Warzone, you can drop shot. Because when you make your hitbox super small and they have to aim down, especially if they're aiming down sights, because your aiming down sights will make you slower when you're aiming, it makes it very hard for someone to track you. So if I'm in the middle of shooting somebody and I just crouch down, all of a sudden I'm like literally like 1 pixel in terms of like my size, the guy's gonna have a hard time because he's gonna have to, while aiming down sights, because most people don't unaim down sights so they can aim onto you faster. They're gonna, while aiming down sights, try to track you, and you're just gonna eviscerate them before it's too late. The next thing, stick layout, completely default. Inverted vehicle look. I have no idea what this is. I'm assuming that this is just specifically for flying, like helicopter stuff. I never have liked that. I just keep it disabled. This is a big one, Deadzone. So specifically, I play on controller. And the thing is with controller is that there's a thing called Deadzone. I will briefly educate you on what Deadzone is so that way you are fully aware of what's going on. So the way that Deadzone works is that since that I am using a controller and it's not as responsive as a keyboard and mouse, there's this ever so slight Deadzone, which means that if I move my thumbstick, there is no movement whatsoever my character will. That be moving forward, backwards, left, right, or my character looking up, down, side, around, everything. I can slightly, ever so gently move my thumbstick and there's no movement. I have to actually have a decent amount of movement for my character to even move just a little bit. And that's what Deadzone is. There's some times where you just move the thumbstick and nothing happens. So you can choose how much Deadzone you have, or in other words, how sensitive the controller is. So if I were to go to 0 Deadzone, that means the slightest movement of my controller, my guy will move. Now this can be either a good thing or a bad thing. It means you will have 100% responsiveness, but if you're not used to it, you can also end up having it where your guy is too responsive and he'll actually jerk and miss. Or that's kind of like the same logic as high sensitivity. You do not want too high sensitivity, otherwise you'll miss. And also another thing as well, is the one problem I've noticed is that as your controllers age, there's this ever so slight problem with Deadzone drifting. Basically, in other words, that your controller's thumbsticks will be stuck in a certain position, so your guy's ever so slightly always moving one direction. And with 0 Deadzone, it's especially bad because you might not even have that problem, and I've seen people just get the problem because they put their Deadzone to 0, where you could have nothing happen to your controller and your guy will ever so slightly move either left, right, up, down, or something. And it makes it that way you can never fully be like AFK, if that makes any sense. This could be good if you want to AFK farm, but there's no point in this game because there's no supply drops. Thank God. So I just use a 3 because it means that my controller's not going to like always move, but it will move when I want to. So it will always move when I want to, but never when I don't want to, if that makes any sense. Horizontal stick sensitivity and vertical stick sensitivity, I both keep at 17. I understand some people like to have them different. Basically, this means that instead of sensitivity being all locked to 1, where your guy can just move incredibly fast, it either means you can have fast side to side or fast up and down. And if they're not the same, I get weirded out almost. I don't like how that my guy has like this slow effect on one of the directions. I just always keep it the same because it's for consistency, especially if you want to do like diagonal angles. Like if I want to go up and around, I can actually go really, really fast. But if I have horizontal, like let's say really slow, and vertical really, really fast, I'm not going to be able to turn unless I'm flailing my character up and down, basically. It's just good for consistency. And now for ADS sensitivity multiplier, I have the low zoom one on 1.00, ADS sensitivity multiplier, high zoom 1.00, aim responsive curve type standard, controller vibration. I have this disabled because I used to have this all the time, and then I realized that it's honestly a lot better. I originally kept it on because purposely for me is that I always did that because I wanted to make sure my controller wasn't dead. Because on Xbox, if your controller stops vibrating, it means your batteries are dying, and it would be a good indicator, say, hey, I want to change my batteries, I don't want to have them die mid-match, because I never used to have a wired controller. And now that I do, there's really no point. And plus also I do get more accurate. The controller shaking does screw you up a little bit, so I disabled it. Aim assist standard, I have the weapon mount activation on ADS plus melee. That's basically standard. Weapon mount movement exit enabled. I have aim down sights behavior on hold because that's obviously the most standard version. Equipment behaviors on hold. This is the best setting, by the way, the one I'm about to go over now. Contextual tap. This is clutch in Warzone. So basically, this is the one thing that will decide whether or not that you are going to die off spawn in Warzone. This makes your button holding into a click. So for example, if there's a gun on the floor, traditionally we all hold the button, or in other words, hold X. Specifically, contextual tap. This will make it, if you hover on something, if you tap it, it will still pick it up, which means that you can essentially cut your time in half with picking up any item that you find on the floor. Because when you're looting and you're landing for the very first time, you're like, oh crap, there's everybody everywhere. I need a gun right now because there's a guy chasing me. I can hear his breathing down my neck. Like he's literally like right behind me. I can actually pick up a gun with literally 1 second to spare, and it will save my life because I don't have to go through the animation of holding X, letting the little gear turn, then picking it up, and still having to chamber the round, load the thing, then aim down sights, then shoot. It just saves so much time. Even though it's like a minor difference, the fundamentals are actually humongous. Because you can also end up doing tap to use and tap to reload, but contextual tap applies to everything. The only consequence that this can have is that if you are ending up in a vehicle, because what happens is that if you are in a vehicle, your reload button is the same thing as the entrance button. And from what I know, there's no button switching, like you can't make custom keybinds on the controller like you can do on PC. So if you're shooting and you want to reload the mag, but without emptying all the ammo first, if you're in a helicopter or something and you go to reload manually, you're actually going to just jump out of the helicopter, or you're going to jump out of a vehicle. So this only is really bad if you're in a car or a vehicle or a helicopter especially. But I don't think that you're ever going to be in that situation in the first place. You're probably going to end up saving your ammo while you're on a vehicle in the first place. This really would only apply if you're like duos, trios, or squads. But I had to be specific about that because that one's very important. It's my favorite setting. Let's see. Depleted ammo weapon switch. That is enabled. Slide behavior, hold. I have auto move forward on disable, automatic sprint disabled, because that's basically like the Fortnite logic. I never liked it in Fortnite how you were always sprinting. It just felt kind of weird to me, and once again it applies the logic of like I want to stand still if I can, so I don't like slip off a ledge. That's very important to me. Parachute auto deploy is enabled, so that way I don't die. General, I got brightness at 50. You actually can turn this up, and you can actually make this really, really high. So that way, for example, if you want to have the non-visible actually visible, this is completely fine. It's like turning up gamma in Minecraft. But the only reason why I would say do not turn it up all the way is because your colors look washed. And in other words, things blend in. So for example, things look dark in purpose and contrast to the light stuff, so you can see, and you can see the difference between what looks like a person or a texture or a car, something like that. If everything is the exact same, they're all either black or all white, or in this case the exact same color because your brightness is turned all the way up, it's not as useful as you think. You might think you might see better, but in reality, just changing the color. So I keep it 50 because then everything's 50-50. Everything should be the color it should be. You can turn it up a little bit if you want dark corners to be a little bit brighter just so you can see people better hiding. But you shouldn't even really be worrying too much because with all these settings, you don't really need to worry about that circumstance in the first place. Film grain, this you just want to turn off. Film grain is useless. It's basically going to make your game look horrible. It basically makes it so that way your game almost looks like it's pixelated. You can even see the images for reference. The one on the right is actually the film grain, and it makes it like this chalky, nasty kind of color texture. It basically looks like a bad TV that you're playing on. It's not really good. You do not want to play with that whatsoever. Then we go into tooltips. You want to have that enabled. Subtitles I have disabled just because they're distracting for me. I know sometimes it helps people. If sometimes you're not paying attention, it says UAV inbound. You can end up seeing that. But for me, it's just distracting because I'm looking at what the guy's saying on my screen. It's like having captions on TV. It can be good, but for me, it just distracts me. I'd rather just listen to the audio because my hearing is perfectly fine. Language selection is obviously English. This is also another really good setting, by the way. This will actually make up for the brightness section now that I think about it. You want to actually enable colorblind's, because with the colorblind type, if you actually enable this, your color palette of your game will change, but it makes colors blend in more, and it makes colors pop up more as well at the same time. So for example, let's say that you're in a game of Warzone, right? And there's this guy and he has like a really washed out color. Let's say it's green or something traditionally that's used for camo. If you have green, and you put this specific colorblind type on, the one I have right down here, I forgive me if I mispronounce it, but it's like Deadzone, I believe. I probably butchered the hell out of that, but please forgive me. It's a colorblind setting, so that way green, orange, red, they stand out because they're more of like yellow, red, and pink. They're like more bright, vibrant colors instead of darker. Because in comparison, if we go to here, this is the normal options, and you can see they're like a very washed out color, and this one's even worse. This looks just kind of like more like a fungus color. And then we get over to here, and it's just like all nice and bright. And this even affects the menu. Then there's also this one too, and then this one. But I really don't like them. I like this one the best. They're my favorite. You want to also make colorblind target both, so this applies to everything. World motion blur, turn this off. It will distract you. It will make enemies impossible to see, especially if you're in the middle of a gunfight. It blurs your vision. Weapon motion blur, also disable it. You do not want this. I don't even know why anybody would keep that. Minimap you actually want on square is because even though the minimap is actually the exact same size fundamentally, you can see everything in a wider, it's almost like field of view for the minimap. You can see more of the minimap even though it's fundamentally the exact same size. Like you can see more of that red in the background. And so even though enemies will not show up there, I just like that better. It's just what I'm used to for the minimap. Minimap rotation, I just have that on enabled, so that way I don't end up having where my map looks like I'm stuck in the same spot. Compass, cardinal direction text, I have this at letters, so that way if I want to just say someone's just pure west, somebody knows exactly what that means. They can just go straight there and have me be, instead of be like, oh, they're at 270, because almost nobody ever uses coordinates, or at least when I play. Text chat enabled, I don't really care. Profanity filter enabled, I do not care. Dismemberment gore effects, that's enabled, I do not care. Game installs, obviously, credits and stuff. Now this is also probably, I would say, my second favorite setting. This is audio. This is so that way you can actually hear footsteps. So let's talk about this. So, for the audio mix, I chose Boost Low. I specifically choose Boost Low because the only other COD game that I've ever had trouble hearing footsteps in other than this was in Black Ops 2. If you ever played Black Ops 2, you will know in Black Ops 2 impossible to hear footsteps. There was no footsteps in that game whatsoever. And this game is the exact same circumstance, but except in reverse, where you could always hear footsteps. But in Warzone in particular, there is a glitch or an inconsistency within the game where I have loud-ass elephant footsteps, and some reason, some way or another, my enemies are completely dead silent. I don't know if they're running specifically dead silence. I don't know if it's a glitch, but there's something obviously out of whack here, and I'm calling it a glitch because it's so inconsistent that there's no other proper example. I'm going for circumstantial evidence here. But if you specifically pick Boost Low, and you also lower your master volume a bit and lower like music and dialogue and stuff like that, that makes it so that way footsteps in particular will overlook. Oh, sorry, excuse me, I'm talking a little bit too fast. Basically what I'm saying is that footsteps are prioritized over everything else. So in other words, instead of everything being the exact same type of volume, your music, your subtitles, everything else is lower, so when there is footsteps at the exact same time, you will hear them. It's like when you have somebody talking to you in one ear and then someone else talking in the other ear, and it gets garbled and you can't understand either of them. That's basically what this is. You're hearing specifically what you want to hear. You're filtering out all the other crap. But you also want to have effect volume up all the way, is because that's what the footstep sound is effects. It's not specifically a footstep setting, it's an effects. Now keep in mind, this will destroy your eardrums because this also does include the precision airstrike, and that also does include the VTOL jet and all that stuff, so you're gonna have to deal with that, but you can adjust that as you wish. Juggernaut music, I don't care, I don't play with the Juggernaut at all. Hit marker sound, I made this classic just for the sake of familiarity. The hit marker sound basically is like the one you hear in the memes, the one that you hear with the DSR trick shot memes. That's basically the same classic one. This is the new one, like the chunkier sound. I don't really like the chunkier sound. I just like the classic little. Voice chat enabled. Headset is this option I have for voice chat device. Open mic recording threshold, I have 3.16. Voice chat volume, I just got that at 100. Microphone volume, I also got that at 100. Voice chat effect, I have no effect. And then we also just end up having my account over here. Now, specifically on Xbox, you unfortunately cannot disable crossplay. But however, PC and PS4 can have crossplay off. I do not know why, and that bothers the ever-living hell out of me. But crossplay on Xbox is mandatory, but is not on PlayStation and PC. So if you're playing on those two other platforms, turn this off so you don't have to play with PC. Your hacks will end up going down tremendously. Then we also have the Activision account. We got the friend request, user UI, streamer mode. I don't care about streamer mode. Graphical region, IP address, internal IP address. All this stuff, I don't really need to worry about that, neither do you. And so basically at the end of the day, that is all my favorite settings for Call of Duty Warzone. Instead of making this like an hour-long video, I was plowing through it. I hope you guys ended up noticing it. I hope you guys saw the energy, the vibes, the everything. So I tried to make this down as fast as I could and still ended up being a 16-minute video, almost 17 now in a second. So I hope you guys end up appreciating this, but before you do take off, I always do want to end up asking you just guys 3 quick questions. Is that if you happen to enjoy the video, please like, comment, subscribe, share the support, because if you like these videos and you show the support, I will see that and I will make them for you. I'm here to serve you and I'm here to help you out, so please let me know how I can help you by leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing. That's tremendously appreciated. Secondly, whatever specific video you also want to see next, tell me in the comments because I can make it. It can be best class setup setting, tutorial, guide, because I know you guys like those videos. I've seen the views and the subscribers and everything from those specific videos. If you have a specific one in mind, let me know, because I'm not a mind reader and I would love to help you. The last thing also as well is that when it comes to these Modern Warfare tips, like I said with all my other videos in the past, this is not only a mixture of what I think, but also what I've seen as popular recommendations. So these may or may not guaranteed work for you, so adjust them as accordingly to what you see fit. But I hope you ended up enjoying this, and I hope these tips end up helping you out. Once again, just simply as if you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys all in the next one. Thank you for watching, guys, and peace out. Go back to your Warzone matches and have some happy hunting.